Hi there, I am Renato from Ultinatu. Thank you for buying my marvelous logo. As you can see, when you open up the template, this is what you see. You see the Edit Me folder, the Render Me, and no need to open. In the Render Me, you'll have the different versions of how you can render, and we'll get to that in a bit. For now, what we have to do is start putting our elements one by one. At this point, it's not worth trying to see or preview your project without putting these elements in. So let's just jump into adding your elements so we can preview them. So first, number one, your logo. Just double click that composition and you'll see I have a text here with the marvelous text. You can just add text, add normal text, just edit this any way you want. Change the font, change the sizes, or you can just like drag in your own logo, okay, and drag it in and use that logo that you have. Make sure that it fits in the composition and use this logo, whatever logo you have. Please make sure whatever logo you use, that this option to see the background. Make sure that it has transparency like this, otherwise it won't work with this template. Okay, so let's moving on. I'm going to delete that logo. Moving on, I'm going to write here, I'm just going to write a text like super, and I'm just going to scale it up. You don't have to scale it up to the maximum. You don't have to scale it up to the maximum, but sometimes I prefer just scaling it up here because I have more control. I'm going to just leave it like that. Okay. Also, make sure that most of the time or all of the time you have quarter quality here, because this project is really slow to preview. So I will tell you when to make sure that this option in full is available. Well, for now, I'm just going to put it in quarter quality. So for one, our logo is introduced, it's in. Two, the slogan, we have this bar that I've just added here. We have a hidden composition, which is your logo, so you can see how your slogan is going to work with this. Let's just put here comic hero. I'm just going to scale it down a bit just so it fits a bit better. Okay, that's fine. So that's how it's going to be under our logo. Next, we have to extrude. Sorry, that just jumped. We have to extrude our logo so it actually works the way we want to. This can be in quarter. Main 3D layers is where we're going to do our extruding. And as you can see, it is in full already, or it should be, because we need to, this is, I'm going to turn off that background. Select this layer, which is one, your logo, layer, auto trace, and you'll have this option that will show up here. Make sure preview is on and make sure apply to new layer is off, and you should get this clean line like that. You can just follow my setup here, the way I'm using it, and okay, and it'll just do its job. And as you can see now, it's nicely done, and it gave us 7 masks. I'm just gonna pull this up like that, and I'm gonna turn this off now. Put this in quarter quality. We don't need that in full quality anymore. And I'm gonna do is, we got 7 masks, and in this extrude one, it should already be open when you open the composition. But if you don't, in the contents, group 1, it should have path 1. What we're gonna do is open path 1, select path 1, and Command D if you're on a Mac, or Control D if you're on a PC. But basically what we're doing is we're duplicating this. You can do it here too. Duplicate here. Just gonna duplicate that until we have 7. we have 7, and we're going to select all of these, click these arrows, so now we have them, the paths revealed. Okay, now that's what we really need. I'm just going to pull this up. I really don't need to see what's going on. I just really need to select all these masks now, click the arrows, actually press U on your keyboard, and you'll just get the masks that we want. So what we're going to do is we're going to copy mask 1 to path 1. So we're going to select, not here, not there, not there, here. Click mask path, Command C on a Mac, Control C on a PC, or edit copy. I'm just going to do Command C, Command V, or Control V on a PC, or paste. Okay, Command V, and then I'm going to get number 2, Command C, Command V, and so on. I'm going to copy, paste. Now 4, copy, paste. Make sure, take your time, paste. Like I said, these things aren't hard to do, but they can mess things up if you don't do them correctly. And paste. So what we just did, we took these masks and we applied them to our 3D layer. Okay, what we're going to do now is we're going to take these paths, select them all like that, select the first, and with your shift key selected, select the last, and you got them all. And we're going to go Command C or Control C, copy, and now we're going to go back to this one, the 3D Extrude 2, and we're going to go in the group, Command V, and it'll paste all those paths exactly the same, but it's in the wrong place. It should be over the fill and over the merge path. So we just drag that on top there like that. And if you give it a second, as you can see, now you have 3D layers, the 3D extrusion. It's that easy. So now that we still have that in memory, what we're going to do is we're going to 3D shadow, double click 3D shadow, and we're going to do the same thing in this 3D extrude 3, group 1, Control V or Command V, and now just put it in the right place, and now you're going to get the shadowed version of your super logo. So the 3D is done. So that is done. So now if you do want to have some kind of preview of what's going on, you can, because now you already have a logo that actually has extrusion, and you should be able to see your version with the slogan at the end here. So everything is working out fine. Like I said, in this 3D extrude main 3D layers, make sure that now your logo has to be turned off. You don't want this visible. You want this turned off. Okay, now we have to get those pictures in. So let's do that. So what we're going to do, first thing we need to do is bring your pictures in. So open your footage folder, and I have a folder of pictures here. You're going to need at least 13 pictures to make this work, but you can also use a 14th, which I will talk about in a minute. But I'm just going to drag these pictures. All these pictures I got on Adobe Stock, but I'm sure you're going to use whatever pictures you want. I'm just going to drag it into your footage folder. They're all in here now. So what we're going to do is, there are two kinds of images we have to keep in mind here. One of them is the image that's going to be like a watermark in the background, which is on this red part, and another one is going to be the picture that's going to show up cut out in each letter. So keeping that in mind, first of all, let's just go and put let's just drag these pictures. If you know the order already, what I'm going to do is I'm going to close all these compositions that I already have here. I don't want these. I just want to open image 1. I'm going to double click image 1, right click on this, and it's got an option right here. I'm just going to drag this over here so you can see this better. close other panels in this group, and it's just going to close everything else, so we just have that image. Okay, now I'm going to select the other, Shift 14, double click on these, and it's going to open all of them. So what we're going to do is we're going to just drag these pictures one by one. If you already have them by order, if you already know what you want, you should just go ahead and just start dragging them. I'm just going to drag them randomly into these folders. You can drag them into the timeline like this, or you can just drag them into the actual. I'm just going to drag one. I'm not even going to position it yet. I'm just going to drag the pictures into the compositions too. So as you can see, I dragged in the image, and it's, if you select it, it's way bigger than it should be. If that doesn't show, like that. Okay, so I'm just going to scale this, holding down the shift, so, because if you don't, it kind of gets all, just to constrain the proportions, I'm just going to drag that, and I'm just zooming in and zooming out on my mouse wheel. I'm just going to scale it. The important thing here is try to fill the picture, but the most important thing is actually keep the nice part of the image in the center. That's what you want to do. Okay, picture 2, I'm just going to go right here, and but I'm just doing this. Like I said, I'm more interested in keeping that interesting part of the picture in the center. Now we have an interesting picture. Okay, this one, if I do the transform, because it's a vertical picture, transform, and if I do fit to comp, as you can see, it'll distort the picture. We don't need that, but you can transform fit to width, and it'll fit to the width, or you can do transform fit to height. And when it comes to vertical pictures, I prefer doing it this way. It doesn't really matter if this isn't filled, and you'll see that in a bit. So that's good enough for me. So next picture, we're just gonna, like I said, I like it in the center. I'm just gonna, can't really get a version of her without, I like that in the center, mostly because of the background watermark. If it's right there, then we're not really going to have anything interesting to see, so that would be a little bit more interesting. And so finally, we do have these images. They do, if you want to see, you won't see, we'll be able to see it here. I think you will already be able to see it in the watermark background. As you can see, it's already showing up there, and that's the important thing for now. So that's working. That's great. So now what we have to do is do the cutout of these same images right here. So what we're going to do is, first of all, we're going to go to all letters cut out, which are in the step 4. You can close these. You don't need that now. All letters cut out. So we have this mask me first, and let's put this in full quality because we're going to need that. And you zoom in, and you can use the space. It'll give you the pan option and zoom in and pan, and we can do this so we can actually get more control of what we're doing. So what we need to do is a mask. We need to draw a mask for each one of these letters. Sorry, I just moved that out of place. So what we're going to do is we're going to select the mask me first. Let me just make sure no mask, right? Select the rectangle tool. Because this is the first letter, you can just start out here and you can just drag until you get the edge of the S. And you can zoom in later just to make sure you got that right, and then click on the selection tool. Click out. So now if you need to adjust any of these, you can. Because imagine if it's a V and you want to do a V letter, you can. But in this case, they're square, so we're just going to stick with that. So what we're going to do now is we're going to call this one, and you can just select the layer, press enter, capital S. We're going to duplicate this, Command D or Control D depending on your operating system. And now we're going to call this one U because it's going to be the super, the U. So I'm going to just touch the mask or double click the mask and it'll give you this box, and you can just scale it that way until, if this was a V, it would be interesting to do it in a different way, and I'm actually just going to do that quickly so you guys can understand what I mean. If this was a V, you can change that to V, because sometimes I'm going to do that so you can see exactly what I mean. If it's a V, as you can see, when you do the S, the V is already cut out there. So what we're going to do in that case, in case that is your situation, you can just take this and you can actually select each handle of the mask at a time and do this like that. So you can actually get one, and then you can duplicate this and do the whole selecting these masks. You can just, and then you can do this one the same way, but this one, like, because it's not interfering that much, you can actually do that like that. But if you needed to, you can just do that and just, well, that's just to explain, because in this tutorial I'm going to do them square, but if you do need to make them in a different shape, that's how you can do it. And if you need to add any extra points, you can just select the pen and just add as many points as you want, and you can just, because you might have weirder shapes than the ones that I have here, so that's, if you need a little extra shapes, you can just add these like that. So just an U. That's it. So now we've done the U, and we're going to duplicate this layer. We're going to call this one P, and double click on that, and we're just going to scale that. So we'll get there, duplicate that layer, Control D, or just select here, duplicate. Okay, I'm going to call that one E. Mind you, this is what we're naming the layer, but the source name never changes because they're all our logo. Okay, so make sure it's got layer name and not source name. So E, just double click on that, move until we get right there, just panning with the space bar, Command D, R, double click. Make sure that you have your R layer selected when you double click. You don't want to double click when it's an E. You want to select the layer E and R, and if that's confusing, just isolate your layer. This isolates it. Double click, and now you have an R, and then you can turn those on again. So now we have super, but I actually want to do it the other way around. I want the S at the top and the U, P under. So I get the whole super like that. Super. That's it. I've got a nice organized. Okay, that will be helpful. What we're going to do here is we're going to just select the top one with the Alt, with the Shift key, select the bottom one, Command C, Control C, or copy, and now we have all these selected. Okay. Now we only have 5 letters, so we don't need all these compositions. You just need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we can just select these and delete them. Okay. So what we're going to do now is select the first one, go here to Track Matte and select S. On the second one, select U. And the second one, third one, P, E, R. So what's happening is these are using, this image is going to be cut out by the S, this one's going to be cut out by the U, and this one's going to, and so on and so on. But we still haven't arranged our pictures inside the cutouts, and that's going to be next. So the cutout folder right here, image 1 cuts. So 1 cuts, here it is. And what we need to do is Remember that we selected the top S and the R and we Command C, or we copied, and now we're going to go to cuts 1, and without clicking on anything, paste, Control V, Command V. They're there now. Now what we need to do is we need to do this for all of these. So what we're going to do is I'm going to select this image cuts one cuts. I'm going to close other panels in the group. Select 2, shift all the way to 14, double click on this, and it'll open the others. What I'm going to do is I'm going to quickly paste super masks into all of these. I'm going to just paste there. So cuts 1, and also what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure I only have one. I'm going to make sure I only have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I don't need all these compositions. I only just need 5 for the 5 letters. So I'm just going to delete the ones that I don't need, which if I'm not mistaken is just the last 4 on all of these. If you do have more than 5 letters, or you do have more, you have 12, 13 or 14, you can always duplicate these as many times as you want, as long as the amount of letters here or the amount of layers here. So I'm just gonna make sure I have only 5 in all of these. (14) doesn't have the layers. I'm just gonna duplicate, just in case we do want them, because this one is working with the white logo. That's why I say layer 14 is special, because we can either use the white logo or we can use colors, whatever we want. So image 1 cuts. So basically what we have to do now to all of them is image 1, S, U, P, E, and R, and we have to do this all the way to on the images S, U, P, E, R. And I think I'm gonna speed up the video here. I can't speed up the work process on my end, but I can speed it up for the tutorial. So see you guys in a minute. Okay, so now we're back. Now finally I've applied that to everything. Just one quick thing I want to mention. Don't forget that if you press on this and the S, U, P, E, R, whatever number letters you've selected don't show up here, it's because probably what you're getting is this. Don't forget to change the source name to layer name. Okay, so basically now what we have is each image is connected to each letter. So whatever image, now if I just drag it, make sure you selected one, you drag it, should be, I'm going to isolate it so you can see it only gets cut out by the S, doesn't get cut out by any other letter. So I'm going to put the S right here. Again, also as you can see, I haven't actually cut those masks out correctly. As you can see, the S is transitioning a bit into the U. I'm not going to fix it now, it's okay, but just to remind you, when you're actually doing those masks and you're all cutting out, please make sure that you cut these out nice and clean, put it in full quality, make sure you're not bleeding into the other letter like I just did. But for the tutorial, it's okay, don't worry about it here. So image 1, we have this. So I'm just gonna quickly show you how to control images here. So we have the image selected, it's getting cut out by the S letter, which we don't need it to be on, otherwise it'll be white, so it needs to be off here. It's being cut out by the S. Make sure the image is selected, and you can just move it around and it'll always be cut out by the letter. Okay, to scale, just choose the handle, keep your shift key so you doesn't constrains the proportions, so it doesn't do this, right? And you can just move it around wherever you want. once you're done with the first one, and the most important is try to keep the center of the picture. It's basically up to you. You can repeat this for all of them. You can make them all look the same. Picture 2, I'm just going to drag that. Or you can just mix them up a little bit. So like that. This is kind of the first one that's going to show up. So they're not going to all show at the same time. So it's not going to be like, it's not going to be showing repeated like this. It's just going to show up like that. So, and then picture 2, the same thing. Image, just scroll it up. And I don't know why this sometimes just jumps out of place. You can just put it back in its right place. Picture 2, scale it up. And 3. This is going to change depending on picture 3. And you'll always have the S-U-P-E-R. It'll tell you which ones you should be following. So this is the P. Now this is the E. You can also scale something up just to mix it up a little bit. It's up to you. Okay. And this we're going to do on and on and on, over and over. So I'm going to go, I'm probably just going to speed up the video again here. Okay, so I'm here on image 13. I've done all the others. As you can see, I'm just here adjusting this one. One of the things I just want to say is you don't have to make them all the same. You can mix them up a little bit, just make it a little bit more interesting. It's up to you. It's not a really big deal because but you'll see that depending on what time the animation logo's in, it might be better for it to be smaller or bigger. So you're going to see that in a minute. So now that I've got this, I'm not going to do the image 14 cutouts. I'm just going to leave that white logo, but you've got the idea what it basically looks like. So let's go now to our final composition and see what's going on. Let's go to see the the render me. Let's go to the final full HD horizontal. Make sure it's in quarter quality. It's right here in the beginning. We can just go here, just close these and try find the preview. If you don't have the preview here, you can go to the window, see preview activated here, should open this window here. And what we want to see is make sure that it's in resolution auto, not full. And work area, current time, spacebar, and just press play. So what we're going to see is basically how the pictures have, how they look in, this is in the final animation, but if you want to do something a little bit lighter and see how they work out in the actual cutout, you can go to the all letters cutout and you can see, don't worry about these two being empty in the beginning, because the camera is focused on what's happening right here. So let's just put this in quarter quality, press play. So now you can actually see what's happening with our animations, okay? So this is basically, like I said, although we put the spider in the same location on all of them, it doesn't show up every time. The spider will show up somewhere else, like over there and over there. So it won't show up at the same time, so it'll look random, although we're just using 13 pictures. So that looks fine. I like that. The beginning is what worries me the most because these are the first pictures that are going to be showing, so I just want to make sure those are looking good. So what we're going to go see these, I'm going to press play, and I'm going to wait for this to render in quarter quality. Oh, looks cool. I'm happy with the picture placements. But this first one I'm not happy with. As you can see, there's this black space that we don't like, and then just pops in, and it's the same as this one. So we're going to check that out. The rest, this could be better. I mean, the E on that picture could have been centered a bit better, and this one too at this point. So I'm just going to quickly explain what you can do. As soon as it starts coming out like this, you're pretty good. I mean, basically it's going to show you whatever, but it's first frames that sometimes are not so good. So what we're going to fix is that first one, and that's the U. The P is also not so good, and the E. So let's check what we're going to do there. So what we're going to do is going to go all letters cut out, and right in the beginning, as we saw, the U is not working. So let's go check the U, which is right here. You can just drag it back a bit, but we don't want it to be the same as that one. So we're just going to drag it. And the important thing is these bars, none of them are supposed to be parallel like that. It can't be like this. If you're going to put something, you're going to make it different. And make it something like that. Yeah, so that's fine. If you go back to the first one now, okay, now it actually has something there, which is what we wanted. Let's go back to the all letters cut out, and as we go forward, we notice that when this one, that face doesn't look really good because it's focused over here, and her too. So the P on her and E on her. So let's go check these out and just adjust them a bit. So not that one, not that one. Okay, this one. Where's the P? There it is. We're just gonna scale this, roll it down. We kind of get a better picture of what's going on here. Maybe something like that. And the other one, the E, this one. The E on this one could do with a bit of an improvement. And let's just scale her up like that so you can actually see her face. So now we just click space bar again. It should be a little bit faster because it's already done most of the work. So that's better. I can see her face a bit better there, and yeah, and I get something better there. So that's the ways you can, some of the ways that you can adjust the image. Another thing that we can edit in this composition is in the final full HD horizontal composition, we have this layer called controls. Go into the window, show effects control, so you can actually see that window. It should show up right here, and I'm going to just do this so you can actually see. So that would be the background color, and that would be the bevel color right there, and that would be, let's just say, a neon color right there. I like to keep it a bit dark. And we have the top flare and the bottom flare, which you can adjust the hue just a little bit. It's got a greenish. You can just change that to another hue if you want. And this one isn't very visible, but you can change that one also a bit to another hue, another color that you might like. So, and as you see, we have these extra two controls here, which is, if you're using horizontal compositions like the full HD or the horizontal 4K, you should have this checkbox. If you're going to use those other two, the social media square and vertical, if you change the square now, or even double click that, if you change the square now, just give it a second to refresh, you will notice that there's something not right happening right here, or vertical, you'll notice that something's not right happening right there. So in the horizontal, if you just activate that, turn off the horizontal one, as you can see now in the horizontal one it doesn't look good, but the vertical looks good and the square looks good. Keep in mind, any changes you do to the colors in this horizontal will affect all of them. This is how I would render this. So let me just go back here and just change this back to the horizontal one. So horizontal, I'm going to go to composition, add to render queue. After you have this, best settings for sure, make sure you know where you're gonna render this to. Okay, find the location where you're gonna render to. I'm using a MacBook Pro laptop. If it's good enough to render this, you can render QuickTime, and I always choose Apple ProRes 422HQ. That's my go-to format here. Okay, and you just render, and it'll take a few hours to render. If you have any issues, any problems, any questions, feel free to contact me. And thank you for buying this template. I hope you have a lot of fun. Thank you once again. Have a great day.